Back when the DS and PlayStation Portable were still the hot portable consoles on the market, Final Fantasy III was one of those powerhouse exclusives that really made RPG fans need to get a DS if they didn't already have one. There really wasn't a choice. You had to purchase this game, as Final Fantasy III was the last of the numbered series not to have been released in North America. It took a staggering 16 years before Final Fantasy III would leave Japan in any official capacity. That's right, the original Famicom version hit in 1990, and the DS full 3D remake was released in 2006. Considering I've been covering the Final Fantasy remakes, remasters, and otherwise on the PlayStation Portable, I figured today we could take a look at the 2012 PSP version of Final Fantasy III. Needless to say, if you only own a Nintendo DS, then by all means go ahead and pick this game up, as it's fantastic on both platforms. The story is a little bit on the light side when compared to Final Fantasy II, but I sure love the setup of this game. You play as 4 heroes who set off on a rather simplistic mission to rescue a princess and are eventually chosen as the Warriors of Light to bring about balance and peace to the world. While the story may not be the most original, it certainly does what it needs to keep you glued to the screen. The gameplay is classic Final Fantasy fare, where you get sucked into random encounters and fight via turn-based combat. Unlike Final Fantasy II though, 3 is a return to form, where you can select different classes and level up based on experience points, instead of the ability usage system from Final Fantasy II. The substantial difference between Final Fantasy III and the other 2 games that were released before it is that of the class, or what the game calls its job system, which allows you to design the 4 party members as you see fit at any point in the game after you pass the introduction chapter. You can make everyone a white mage if you're feeling so bold, or you can have a nice balance of warriors, monks, black mages, and so on. In total, there are over 20 different jobs available for you to mess around with, but each one has to be leveled independently of the rest. Now, before you start to rip your hair out, your character level isn't the same thing as your job level, so you can grind out job levels at a different pace as your character level. This is good news, as it means that you can mix and match jobs or classes as you like at any particular point in time, which means you'll want to try and see which classes match your playing style. So even though it is a little bit grindy, the system still feels quite robust. Final Fantasy III was also notable for being the first game in the series to feature the ability to summon powerful creatures to help you in battle. These bad boys would become a staple of the series from this point forward. Before moving away from the battle system, I should mention that the encounter rate can be a little on the high side at times. But more often than not, I didn't really have any problem with it. Combat leads to leveling, which makes you stronger. And believe me, you're going to want to be quite strong to finish this one. The rest of the gameplay is exactly like any old school RPG. You move around a world map, enter dungeons, castles, towns, etc. as you try and make your way to the next plot point. Along the way, you'll meet up with Cid, Chocobos, Moogles, and more. One feature from Final Fantasy III that's interesting is the number of hidden goodies found everywhere. There are hidden areas that will allow you to locate hidden chests, and there's even the ability to zoom the camera in so that you can notice shiny spots in the environment, and they always hold weapons or items or some such. While I didn't find myself using this feature all too often, it is indeed useful, and the items you can find are certainly worthwhile. I remember being a little bit disappointed with the game's pacing on the DS when I played the game back in 2006, but it seems to hold up well now that I'm playing it, well, over a decade later, and on a completely different piece of hardware. For those looking to get the PSP version, you should know that the DS version plays very much like this one, with only the bottom screen being used for the vast majority of the game. So you're not really missing out by only having one screen to work with. Speaking of the differences between the DS and PSP versions, in this version you don't have any of the locked side quests. Instead, everything is unlocked naturally as you play the game. In the DS version, there were supplemental features that you had to use in order to unlock everything the game had to offer. You can also press the select button for an auto battle command, which repeats the previous command you selected and increases the speed at which battles take place. There's also an art gallery you can check out that features some really stunning artwork. Graphically, the game looks great. Yes, it's a bit jarring when you've played the remastered versions of Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 4, and then revisit 3 only to see that unlike all the other ones I just mentioned, this one's in 3D, whereas all the rest are in 2D. The game does look nice though, and I love how when you change your classes, all the characters look a little bit different. The music is also fantastic, and while certainly redone over the original NES tunes, the melodies are classic Final Fantasy and sound wonderful. This PSP version also allows you to switch back and forth between the original 8-bit soundtrack and the new soundtrack, which is pretty cool. Final Fantasy III always felt like a reimagining of Final Fantasy I to me, and this PlayStation Portable version really is the definitive version. The auto battle feature is excellent and speeds up the gameplay, while the new bonus features such as being able to listen to the original 8-bit soundtrack are worthwhile in and of themselves. If you're looking to purchase Final Fantasy III on your PlayStation Portable, you can only purchase it digitally through the PlayStation Store. So boot up that PS3 or PC and give this one a download.